All right. Access and request data. For web applications, it's crucial to react to the data a client sends to the server. In Flask, this information is provided by the global request object. If you have some experience with Python, you might be wondering how that object can be global and how Flask manages to still be thread safe. The answer is context locals. Alright, so when it comes to accessing information that's sent from the client to the server, we're going to use the global request object as you can see here. And if you want to know more about implementing tests or how Flask works with threads, that's what they mean by using context locals. Now, we're really not going to go too much into this, or we're not going to go into this at all, actually, because this is sort of a, I guess, side quest and we don't really need to know too much about it. Now, you can always go and look this up, but I'm not because this kind of goes out of the flow of the tutorial. So I'm going to start with this request object. I'm just going to scroll down. So the request object. The request object is documented in the API section and we will not cover it here in detail. See request. Here's a broad overview of some of the most common operations. First of all, you have to import it from the Flask module. So if you want to know more about requests, you can click here. They're not going to go over it much here, but yeah, you can just click here and if you want to know more. So they import the request object as an object from the Flask module. The current request method is available by using the method attribute to access the form data transmitted in a post or pull request. You can use the form attribute. Here is a full example of the two attributes mentioned above. So the method attribute is used to access the request method. So we're going to check to see if the request sent to the login route was a post method or a get method. And we do that using this method attribute. Now we use the form attribute here, which is a dictionary, and we use that to get our values from the HTML. So when we go into the HTML, we're going to supply the name property, and the way we access the information inside of that, or that element, I should say, is we use the name of the property here. So if over there I call it username, that's why this is username. Over there, if I call the input password, or if the name is password, that's why this is password. So the form helps us get the actual data. The method refers to the method that they're using. What happens if the key does not exist in the form attribute? In that case, a special key error is raised. You can catch it like a standard key error, but if you don't do that, at HTTP 400 bad request error page is shown instead. So for many situations, you don't have to deal with that problem. Okay, so if they try to, or if you try to access a key that is not there or that's not defined in HTML, then you're going to get a key error. Now you can handle this key error if you want to, or explicitly, or they'll handle it for you with or they'll send a 400 HTTP 400 bad request error page. So you don't have to do it. In other words, they handle it for you. Like when it comes to escaping, the Jenga templating engine handles that for you. Okay. To access parameters, submit in the URL question mark key equals value that lets you know that this is parameter because it's after the question mark. You can use the args attribute. So if I want to access a variable part, then of course I would use the key and value as they say here. So the key and then the value would be here. We recommend accessing URL parameters with get or by catching the key error because users might change the URL and presenting them a 400 bad request page in that case is not user friendly. So when it comes to accessing the parameters in the URL, they want you to either use the get method, so this method here, or they want you to catch the key error just in case that the parameter supplied doesn't exist because a 400 bad request page that will be sent is not very user friendly or presenting them that page is not very friendly at this point or you don't want to do that at this point. That's what they're trying to say. So either use the get function or catch the key error. For a full list of methods and attributes of the request object, head over to the request documentation. Of course, we're not going to do that because that's a pretty extensive topic. So you can if you want. Now, in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you guys how to use the request object and how to use the form and method attribute. Then we're going to go over adding that information to the database, or first we're going to go over the database and then I'm going to show you how to put the two together. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go over implementing hash passwords or making a hashed password because we don't want to store the passwords in the database as plain text. We want to store them hashed. So we're going to go a little bit over that before we go into file uploads. Yeah.